The Celestial Empire, or Points and Pickings of Information about China and the Chinese, by George Mogridge. Chapter 8. The Late Emperor of China, Kea-King. Before I give you any points about the expedition to China, let me say something of the late Emperor Kea-King. He was the son of the Emperor Kien-lung, who, when he himself had reigned 60 years, resigned the throne to him. A virtuous monarch is a blessing to a nation, and Kien-lung was one of China's best rulers. But Kea-King had either never heard the adage or did not regard it. Follow thy father, good son, and do as thy father has done. For he became a very dissolute and unworthy monarch. Instead of maintaining the imperial dignity, he tarnished his reputation and became an object of contempt. His cruelty, his profanity in taking with him comedians when he sacrificed in the temples of heaven and earth, his intemperance and his great cowardice called forth the scorn of those who surrounded him. Content to follow his profligate courses, he left the weightier affairs of government to others, and revolution after revolution distracted his reign. One instance of his cruelty I cannot but record. It happened that an eunuch, who had for many years been a servant of Kien-lung and received from his royal master many favors, was found guilty of having joined in a treasonable conspiracy. Kea-King, violently enraged, determined to destroy the miserable culprit by an unheard-of punishment. He had the wretched offender bound with canvas and cords, thickly surrounded with tallow and combustible matter, so as to convert the miserable malefactor into a candle which was lighted up at the grave of the Emperor Kien-lung. One would think that such an instant of barbarity as this was enough to hand down the name of Kea-King with infamy to succeeding times. But alas, cruelty is too common in China to call forth that abhorrence which under other circumstances would be felt and expressed. Oh, what a curse is cruelty! Well might the poet exclaim, "There's mercy for both man and beast in God's indulgent plan. There's mercy for each creeping thing, but man has none for man." Kea-King loudly complained of his Tartar ministers and courtiers for setting spies over him. No doubt he had an uncomfortable consciousness that his actions would not endure so trying an ordeal. Some of his ministers were opposed to his visiting Manchu Tartary, but he insisted on going there, and for this purpose reiterated the mandate of his father that if any minister of state in China shall presume to advise his master not to visit Tartary, it shall be considered treason and punished with immediate death. This was a very summary and effectual way of getting rid of unwelcome advice, but a very uncourteous and unkindly mode of proceeding. Kea-King died September 2nd, 1820. A blue-sealed document from the Board of Ceremonies at Peking announced that at Jeho, the warm river, he had become a guest in heaven. It is by many suspected that he did not die a natural death, but was cut off by someone who had reason to fear his heavy displeasure. The whole nation went in mourning for him according to the Chinese custom on the death of an emperor, who, besides a Chinese emperor, has 300 millions of mourners at his decease. On the 19th December 1820, at the hour of midnight, 2 dispatches were brought to Canton by an imperial courier from Peking. One of these was from the Board of Rites, and the other from the military board. His late Majesty's name being Ning, repose, it was ordered that his name should in future be kept sacred. And to prevent it from being profaned by common use, it was to be spelt differently in ordinary cases. The title of His late Majesty Kea-King in the Hall of Ancestors was fixed to be the supremely benevolent and most intelligent Emperor. The will of the Emperor Kea-King is too striking a document to be withheld. It is as follows. The great Emperor, who received from heaven and revolving nature the dominion of the world, hereby announces his will to the Empire. When I, the Emperor, gratefully received from His late Majesty Kien-lung, that high, honorable and pure sovereign, the imperial signet, and succeeded to the throne, I continued to receive his personal instructions in the affairs of government 3 years afterwards. I have considered that the foundation of a country and the great principles of social order consist in venerating heaven, imitating ancestors, being assiduous in government, and loving the common people. Since I entered on my office, I have exercised the strictest caution and have felt a solemn awe while I daily meditated on the important duties incumbent on me. I have remembered that heaven raises up princes for the sake of the people, and that the duty of feeding the people and teaching them is laid upon the one man. When I first conducted the affairs of government, the rebellious banditti in the provinces of Sichuan, Shensi, and Hukwang were not yet reduced to a state of tranquility, and I had to instruct and to stimulate the great officers and the grand army to put them in order and to direct them for the space of 4 years, by which efforts the banditti were successively destroyed, and subsequently the terraqueous world enjoyed tranquility and repose. Every hamlet found delight in its proper occupation, while I protected, as in my bosom, and bountifully largest the poor people. And thus they and I were blessed with repose and rest. But in the 18th year of my reign, abandoned people again created disturbance and rushed inside the sacred gate of the palace. The rebels connected themselves with the Sao and Hua districts and spread themselves over 3 provinces. However, happily, by reliance on high heaven's assistance, the leaders were destroyed and the remnant exterminated, and in less than 2 months tranquility was again restored. I have always considered that heterodox opinions are pernicious to the people, and have often issued orders and instructions on this subject, to render government respected and to correct men's hearts. I set in order and enjoined by authority fundamental principles, the cords which bind society together, hoping to make the administration of government pure and the public manners substantially good. These cares I have never for a day dismissed from my breast. The Yellow River has, from ancient times till now, been China's grief. Whenever at Yuntei and Quanhie the mouth of the river has been by sandbanks impeded, it has, higher up the stream, created alarm by overflowing the country. On such occasions, I have not spared the imperial purse to embank the river and restore the waters to their former channel. Since a former repair of the river was reported to me, 6 or 7 years of tranquility had elapsed. When last year, in the autumn, from the excessive rains, there was an unusual rise of the water, and in Honan province, the river burst the banks at several places, both on the south and north sides, and the stream, Wu Che, flowing transversely, forced a passage to the sea. The injury done was immense. During the spring of this year, just as those who conducted the repair of the banks had reported that the work was finished, the southern bank at Fung again gave way. Orders have been given to commence the repairs after autumn, and money has been issued for the work, which, it is calculated, may be completed during the winter. I have paid particular attention to the lives of my people and have been anxious to prevent a single individual's being destitute. When excessive rains or drought occurred in any part of the empire, I have remitted the land tax and I have conferred grain. As soon as distress was reported, immediate relief was given. Last year, on the 60th anniversary of my birth, when the public servants and people were presenting their sincere congratulations, I thought what benefit I should confer, and finally proclaimed a remission of all debts for land tax, to the amount of upwards of 20 millions, with a wish that every family and every individual should enjoy abundance, and all ranks ascend together the heights of general joy. This year, during the spring and summer and onward to autumn, the rains were seasonable, and from every province plenty was announced to me, which afforded real pleasure to my heart. In the middle of autumn, I, with a feeling of reverential obedience to the instructions of my ancestors, was proceeding to Mulan on a hunting excursion, and, to avoid the heat, stopped at the mountain cottage. I have hitherto enjoyed robust health, and although advanced beyond the 6th decade of my life, I could ascend or descend a hill, or could visit the rivers or the plains without a feeling of weariness. On this occasion, in the course of my journey, the intense heat of the atmosphere affected me, and yesterday, having whipped my horse across the mountain of wide benevolence, Guanjin, when I came to the hill cottage, I felt the phlegm rise to suffocation and apprehended I should not recover. But, in obedience to the law of the departed sages of my family, I had already, in the 4th year of my reign, in the 4th month, on the 10th day, at 5 o'clock in the morning, previously appointed an heir to the throne, which appointment I myself sealed and locked it up in a secret box. When the rebels in the 18th year attempted to climb over the palace walls, the imperial heir with his own hand fired and shot 2 of them, which caused the rest to fall with terror to the ground, and the sacred abode was in consequence preserved in quiet. The merit of this conduct was very great, and as the purpose of making him heir was not to become apparent, I then created him to be styled the Wise, and thereby rewarded his singular services. The present disease will end my life. The divine utensil, the throne, is supremely important, and it becomes proper to transfer it to another. I therefore command all the ministers of the imperial presence, all the statesmen of the military board, all the great officers of the imperial household, and an assembled body to open the secret deposit. The imperial heir is benevolent, dutiful, wise, and valorous, and will be able to sustain the trust committed to him. Let him ascend the imperial throne and succeed to the universal rule. The duty of a sovereign prince consists in knowing men's characters and giving repose to the people. I have long discussed clearly this subject, but to carry these duties into effect is truly difficult. Let them be duly considered. Let them be strenuously maintained. Attach yourself, O my son, to the good and virtuous. Love and feed the black-haired people, and preserve our family dominion over the great patrimony to myriads of ages. The Leke classic says that dutiful sons perpetuate well the designs of their fathers and illustrate well the affairs of their ancestors. May your strenuous efforts never be intermitted. I have arrived at the high honor of being the son of heaven. My years have extended beyond a sexagenary cycle. The happiness I have attained may be denominated great. I hope my successor will be able to continue my purposes and will cause the world to enjoy the felicity of general tranquility, and thus my wishes will be gratified. When I received the imperial seal, I had 2 elder brothers and 1 younger brother, who at the same time received royal titles. In the spring of this year, the royal brother King Sin first departed this life, and only the royal brothers Yi Sin and Chin Sing remain. These 5 fencers were deprived of their emoluments, which punishment is hereby entirely remitted. The Shu King relates that the ancient emperor Yu closed his career on a hunting excursion. My fate has therefore been that of others. And further, this place, Luangyang, is one which according to rule must be annually blessed by the imperial presence, and my predecessor, His late Majesty, was born here. Why should I be indignant at dying here? Let the state mourning be agreeable to former usage and be put off after 27 days. Announce this to the empire and cause everyone to hear it. Kea-King, 25th year, 7th moon, 25th day. You will probably think that the language of the will and the action of the emperor but ill agree, that such a man as Kea-King should have had 300 million mourners, and that high honors should have been paid to his memory, is a striking instance. How flattery fawns upon the great and flings a flowery mantle o'er the crimes of kings.